Well, good morning, everybody. It's time for Morning Manna. And this morning, as I promised you on last week, that we would get into men's mental health. So often we overlook that. So often we are so preoccupied with women's mental health, maybe in general mental health when we have those kinds of conversations. But I thought it'd be good, especially since my book that I wrote just focuses in on a lot of that, leading through storms, navigating, successfully navigating a ministry while maintaining your mental health. I thought, okay, well, we need to kind of pull that in as well. So here we are on this morning, and I invited uh, by demand. I mean, when I had the therapist on, all four of them, it was so powerful, and they're back. They're back. Mindy today, but we'll get into that a little bit more with her and just talking with her about that and having her to introduce herself by popular demand. They're back. How about that? Good morning, Ramona. How are you? How are you on this morning? Pamela, how are you? What did you guys think of worship on yesterday? Those of you who are life changers and you were at Family Sunday on yesterday. What did you tell me what you think? Good morning, Brenda. How are you? Joya, how are you? Vicky, how are you? Jewel, how are you on this morning? Yolanda, how are you? Elder Jan, how are you doing? We're missing you, but we know why. We understand why. Praying for your health. Good morning, Dawn. How are you? Elder Mobley, how are you? Brother Pope, how are you doing on this morning? Valerie, how are you? Francine, how are you? Liz, how are you doing on this morning? You know what? It's really a great morning. It is really good that we can get together and talk and have conversation. And we don't always have to do the morning manner the way I typically do it, the text, the talk, the takeaway. We do something different, it's we can do that. It's our morning manner. We want to change, we can change. Isn't that right, guys? I hope you feel that way. Good morning, Linda. How are you on this morning? It's a great morning. It's a wonderful morning. And this morning, we want to really delve into a little bit further because we want to empower you. One of the things that we wanted to do, we always want to empower you for your day. And that's what this is going to be on this morning. I want to just greet some more folk on this morning. Tell me what you think, though, life changers, about yesterday's panel. Tell me what you think about yesterday's panel. I kind of want to hear what your thoughts are. What did you think about that? Why church? Why church? Why church? Okay, Elder Mobley is saying it's powerful worship experience. The panel was very informative and helpful. Loved it. Okay, great, 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 great. Yes, thank you. We're continually praying, Elder Jan, as well. Yes, good morning, Peggy. How are you on this morning? Want to just ask that question. What did you think, though? What did you think on yesterday's panel where we were talking about why church? Why church? Not just, why go to church, but the whole institution of church. It's kind of challenging. Wanted to do something different. Wanted to do something different. And I wanted to just see what you think. I want to get a couple of more comments, and then we're going to jump right into the manna on this morning. And as you can see, I have a guest back by popular demand, Mindy, and all the therapists this week. We're going to be delving into men's mental health because June is particularly about men's mental health. Men's mental health. How about that? We don't think of that typically. Good morning, Denise. How are you? And good morning, Peggy. How are you? So let's get right into it. We're going to get right into it and jump into it. We want to get you and empower you on this morning.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Manna, where in 5 minutes or less, you're going to get an impartation with the text, the talk, and the takeaway. Join the Morning Manna fam every weekday morning at 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. Don't forget to put in the chat the revelation that you get and share the manna. Now, let's get ready to have some manna so you can make it through your day.
So welcome, Mindy. We're
Good
glad you're
morning.
here. Can you just welcome back, I should say, and can you just reintroduce yourself and let everybody know?
Good
who you are,
morning.
what you're doing, so that they can connect with you as well.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mindy Harms-Coleman, and I have a practice in Swansea called Healing Centered Counseling. I am an individual therapist, and I've been in the field of mental health since 1997. So, for a little while now, I focus more, my specialty is more trauma, abuse. I also am trained in EMDR, which I have a particular passion for, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. That's often used in the treatment of trauma recovery. I work with mainly adults, but sometimes children, teenagers, and that's that.
That's you.
That's me.
Good.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you, Mindy. And I can
You're
see the
welcome.
Man of Fam welcoming you back because everybody remembers just how powerful it was. They said, "Well, Bishop, you on the couch," which was good. You guys can see over my shoulder there, my book. We really want you to grab that.
Mhm.
But this is an extension of that conversation. And so I want to ask this question, Mindy, on this morning so you can help all of us. You can help all of us. What are some of the most misunderstood signs of depression,
Mhm.
anxiety, mental health struggles in men?
With men. That's a good question because I think often men and women present differently. Not always, but often they do. Men often present symptoms of depression by way of disrupted sleep, sometimes personality changes, irritability, anger, agitation. Um, Sometimes men will present more with anxiety or even withdrawal, whereas women, I believe, are more prone to presenting with an emotional lability or a tearfulness. Um, Men present a bit differently. And so I think sometimes when a man is depressed, if he's presenting with more anger, irritability, we have a tendency to say, oh, he has anger problems or he's just an angry man. When, I mean, anger is a secondary emotion, anger is not a primary emotion. And so, what is underneath that anger? And it's not uncommon for there to be grief, depression, even sometimes anxiety. People that have anxiety can present as irritable because they're internally anxious. And so there's this energy that feeds, and people present as irritable.
Two things, and this is so good. Um, Disruption of sleep.
Hmm.
What does that look like?
Oh, it can vary. Sometimes disrupted sleep can be having trouble falling asleep, whereas before you were able to lay down and relatively fall asleep within, 5, 10 minutes. But maybe because you're feeling depressed, maybe you just have so much on your mind, or you start to have more racing thoughts at bedtime, and so then it's harder for you to get to sleep. And and sometimes people will self medicate with alcohol. Alcohol can be really sneaky though, because often people think alcohol helps them fall asleep, but it actually makes disrupts your sleep and causes a more restless sleep. So while it might help you fall asleep, your quality of sleep is very poor, and you'll wake up often sooner. So there's that. Other disruptions, like if you do fall asleep with relative ease, you may awaken very early because you're anxious. Depression and anxiety often go hand in hand; they're cousins, and sometimes it can be difficult to discern which came first. Sometimes I will see people present with depression, but it's actually anxiety, and they have such high anxiety. Their anxiety contributes, it affects their quality of life, where then they start to feel depressed. Or sometimes people become so depressed that they can't function, and then they start to develop a secondary anxiety.
Wow, wow. Let's dive a little bit deeper. And she talked about a secondary emotion. Can you? And I've heard therapists say that more often. So now, can you elaborate more on what does that mean? What does that mean? Secondary
Okay.
emotion and anger is a not a primary emotion.
This is a question I often get when I'm talking about this with people, because people just look at me like, "What do you mean anger?" Because anger is often the most intensely felt emotion, not the only one, but often the most intensely felt. And so, how can anger be anything but primary? Anger is a secondary emotion by way of, like, anger is a reactive emotion that resonates from sadness, grief, anxiety, fear. And so it's going deeper and helping people to develop skills, and often men, well, both men and women, to develop skills about being curious. What's going on with me right now? Like, because this anger isn't me, but I'm reacting in this way. Like, if you're driving, if there's road rage, or not necessarily road rage, but if there's an incident, say you're driving and someone cuts you off, you react in anger, right? "Ah, why'd you do that to me?" But if you really look underneath the surface, you're afraid. For a split second, you were afraid because you were afraid that you were going to hit that car or they were going to hit you.
So it sounds almost like it's defensive as well.
Oh, it can be. Anger is meant to protect us. It's meant to defend. Anger has power. And often when people are feeling very depressed, it's a powerless or very low, kind of bottomed out feeling. It can just feel like, for some it's a lethargy, for some it's just this apathy about life. But with anger, there's energy and there's a sense of powerfulness.
Wow. Wow. That is good. That is real good. So then it's not always when we think of men and we think of angry man.
Mhm.
And let me just lean into this
Mhm.
angry black men.
Mm.
When I was in the military,
Mhm.
story time. When I was in the military, the my other fellow officers, African American officers, we all came in the military together as second lieutenants, first lieutenants, captains, and we would always be accused by our superiors of being
Mhm.
angry black men.
Mhm.
Um, and in many respects, we would be defending
Right.
our rank. We would be
Right.
defending
Mhm.
the thing, and this really helps. But that was the label that was put on
Of
us.
course. Of course, because that's easy, right? It's easy to label people. And if you think about where that anger resonated from, you were defending. What were you defending? You were defending your what you had worked so hard to earn. You were defending your ability to provide bread and butter. You were defending your sense of self. And all of that, if you think about it, what is the basis of that? Like fear that someone's going to take that from you. Because if we look at it as a historical perspective and we go back, so much has been taken from African American people in general.
Wow.
So if we look at like intergenerational trauma and how that carries forward, and so sometimes a therapist is a bit like a detective, kind of like, let's parse out here. Is this anger that is coming from, like, is like an environmental issue? Is this like an intergenerational issue? Is this a family issue? Is this a biological issue?
Wow.
Hmm.
This is this is good. This is good. And in my book, I tried to really help. It was cathartic for me, and though because I was familiar with the whole piece about anger being a secondary emotion, and there's
Hmm.
something that's under there.
Hmm.
I would always. I knew that when I became upset, not
Hmm.
necessarily upset. I was hurt.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
I was hurt,
Hmm.
and so I could always tap into the fact
Hmm.
that I'm tearful. I was hurt. I am
Hmm.
hurting, and the way I would navigate that so that I could have a successful
Hmm.
ministry is that in worship,
Hmm. Hmm.
I would let the tears flow
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
worship
Hmm.
because I knew and I know that God is with me
Yes.
in the
Yes.
even in the midst of my
Yes.
fear of not achieving,
Yes.
even in the midst of my hurt or
Hmm.
something didn't go right. And so, and I early in my walk with the Lord, I always understood that in my worship, that would be the my path as opposed to demonstrative dancing or
Hmm.
shouting
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
that would be
Hmm.
my response. Not always
Hmm.
out of pain or
Hmm.
something, just out of joy. But that really helps me. Many,
And
uh, what would you say to those the women who are watching right now, as well as the men, but in
mhm,
particular to the women who are watching right now, and they see these things in their men, the men in their lives, whether it's their
yes.
son, their nephew, their husbands. What would
Mhm.
you say to them? What would you help them? Uh,
Mm,
get them to help them.
wow. I believe that men need just as much softness and gentleness and understanding as women do. Sometimes, if not even more, really.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. I'm not. Bishop, I have grown so much in my own life with understanding, within my marriage and with raising a young man and just observing. But I think men sometimes need just as much, if not more, softness and gentleness and regard for their feelings and their integrity as a person.
Wow, wow. Dennis is saying
Mhm.
it's difficult for leaders in authoritarianism to accept depression. Why do you think, and how can you approach it? Dennis, you put this question up here.
Mhm.
Uh, um, so we're going to try to answer it and close out
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah. So I think when you are in a position of power, um, such as authoritarianism. Now, I think sometimes when we get into authoritarianism, we might be dealing with a little bit of a different issue, and that's more of, oh, it went dead, more of a personality issue. Okay. So, authoritarianism, I want to be mindful of that word. I'm very mindful of the words I use in therapy. Authoritarianism, to me, indicates more of a different set of issues. Okay. But when you're in leadership and there's this angry presentation, my hope is that there are people around because leaders don't get to where they are by themselves, right? And so anyone's job when someone is in a position of leadership, whether they like it or not, is to support them and help them be the best person they can be. And that involves critical critical truth, honesty, and reflection, right? And so I think reflecting to them, sir, I'll just use that. I'm picking up that you're presenting as angry, and I don't know if you're aware how you're coming off. Do you want to talk about it? Is there something going on? And I think it depends on the kind of relationship you have with the person too. I think what people tend to do is when they sense anger, particularly with men, and if a man is large in stature and presentation, people will shrink or they don't say anything and then they will talk. They will do what's called storm the leader. A group of people will talk behind the leader's back because they don't know how to address the issue.
Wow. Wow, you are helping us as usual, as always. And so, for those of you who are watching right now, whether now or later, really want you to lean into this. As I said, Mindy has her practice right here in the St. Louis metropolitan area, as we would say, on the east side of the river in Shiloh. Love for you to lean into that. Love for you to also empower and inform yourself with leading through storms, successfully navigating ministry while maintaining your mental health.
Mhm.
And the thing that I love the most, and someone put it on the screen, I think it was Elder Jan, that men need some softness too. How
They
about
do.
that?
They do.
Who would have thunk it? We
Mhm.
need to put that on replay. We do. We do.
And Bishop, I just want to add, I remember many, many moons ago, you provided premarital counseling to my husband and I. And I don't know if you realize the seeds you planted then, how those have helped me to grow even as a spouse. I just
Wow.
want you to know that the power of things that are planted years and years and years later have helped me grow into the spouse I am. I think impartial, the clinician I am.
Wow. Wow. I
Yeah.
received that.
Yeah.
To God be the glory.
Yes.
So, Manafam, you already got it. We're gonna have these conversations for the next couple 3 days. Please invite others. It is June. It is Men's Mental Health Month, and we want to just come alongside of that with our book, Leading Through Storms, Successfully Navigating Ministry While Maintaining Your Mental Health. That's very critical, and that's what we want to do. So share the manna. If it bless you, bless somebody else. Thank you, Mindy,
You're
so
welcome.
much for
It's an
always
honor.
your thoughtful insights and empowering us. And we'll see you tomorrow morning with more morning manna. Share the manna. Don't keep it to yourself. The Lord be with you. May his face shine upon you and give you peace. God bless you. Bye now.
Amen.